Hello everyone, and welcome to the July Carroll County Public Library Card Camp. We have a theme for July's cards of holiday cards, so we hope that you can get started on your holiday cards early with these cards. The first card we're going to work on is this one. Now in your card kits that you got, you should have had a little note saying be careful of the small pieces. So before you get started, let's make sure we have all the pieces that you need. You're going to have on printed scrapbook paper the word Mary, and then you're going to have this white thicker material of Mary, the letters Mary, and this is actually fun foam from Michael's, and I purchased the fun foam that has an adhesive backing just to make it easier for you. So before you get started, like the M, it's kind of hard to tell which is the front, which is the back. So you want to make sure that the adhesive part is down, because you're going to adhere your pattern paper to the top. The first thing I did with this card is I took the card base and I folded it in half, and then I'm going to take the blue embossed piece and attach it to the card base. I am using Tombow mono adhesive. That's the dry adhesive that I like to use, but you can also use a liquid glue if you prefer. Next, I want to take the tag with the Mary die cut out of it and thread your ribbon through the hole. Now I want this to lay flat, so I'm going to tie a knot, but I want the knot to be on top. Then the tails are a little long for me, so I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the tail. Now I'm going to use a liquid glue to adhere this down. A liquid glue that I like for small spaces is this Art glitter glue. This one that I have dries clear. They also have one that dries white. And this glue I got from Amazon. So I haven't seen it in any of the stores in our area. That doesn't mean they don't have it. It's just I've always gotten it from Amazon. And I like this glue because it gives you just the tiniest little bit of wet glue, so you can get into the small spaces without the glue seeping through. So instead of putting the tag horizontal with the card, I just kind of tilted it a little bit, but you can do it however you prefer. And this Art glitter glue dries pretty quickly. So I'm going to set that aside for a minute because I want to show you how I raised the word Mary using the fun foam. I'm going to take my wet glue and just put little dots on the fun foam. And again, remember, you've got to make sure it's the side that doesn't have the adhesive on. And then I'm going to match up the letter with my pattern paper. And I like this liquid glue because it has a little wiggle room since it's wet, so you can scooch it around a little bit if you need to, so that the pattern paper is directly on top. I'm going to do that for the E. And then, in the interest of saving time, I had pre-done the R, and Y. Go back to our card now, and we're just going to peel off. I don't have any nails, so I'm going to use a little pokey tool to peel off the adhesive layer. And you want to place the raised up letter directly over the open space. I'm going to just repeat that for all of the letters in Mary. think I'm just going to use my nail because it seems to be getting stuck. This is called the eclipse technique. If you're looking, if you like how this looks and you want to see some other samples of what people have done, it's called the eclipse technique. If you're using the eclipse technique, you can see you're matching up the pattern paper. Well, we had 2 R's, so you have to make sure that, for instance, you have to make sure the R is the correct one that matches your pattern paper. You can see that that would not look right, but here the little elf and the rocking horse are perfect. So now we're almost done our card, but you can see the blue is showing through the insert for the 2 R's. So what I'm going to do is just take a tiny dab of the art glitter glue, but now you have to make sure that you use the correct insert. These 2 both look almost identical, but I can see there's a little snow dot there which matches up to that one. So I'm going to use my tweezers and just press that down. Now I know that this one is going to match the other R. So there we go. Now, just to finish it off, I included, in case you were interested, I included some stars, and you should have 3 in your kit. And I just thought, with the scrap paper, when I was making this, I thought it would be nice to utilize that. So I cut out some 3 stars for you. I find it's a lot easier to actually put the glue on the card base and then attach the star rather than putting the adhesive on the pattern paper. So there you go. That is our first card for our holiday card camp. The second card is going to be this moose one. So those pieces, if you pull out those pieces in your kit, we're going to start with this card base, which is a little unusual because this card base is 5.5 by 6 inches, and it's scored. You should see a little scored line at 1 3/4 inch. So fold on that score line, and that is going to be the top fold of your card. Then what I want you to do is take these pieces and adhere the pattern paper to the black. Now, because we're using paper that's been donated to the library, everybody is not going to have this exact green and black checked paper. You might have something that looks like this in your kit, or you might have black and white. But they're all going to look great. So I'm just going to put some adhesive on the pattern paper and adhere that to the black. Now this has an 1/8 of an inch margin instead of a 1/4 of an inch. So it's a tinier margin, so you have to be a little careful when you're adhering the pattern paper to make sure you have an even margin. Now for one of these pieces, I want you to adhere that to the white strip that is 1 3/4 by 5.5 inches. It's kind of hard to see because I'm working on a white scratch piece, but again, there's just it is kind of hard. It's just a 1/8 of an inch margin. So once we have those layers done, now we want to work on the moose. And I'm just going to attach the white circle to the green, and then I'm going to use my liquid glue for the moose, because again, I like this glitter glue because I can just get the tiniest little dot of glue on the legs of the moose. I'm going to put him in the center of the circle and give it a second to dry. Now, I want to take a second and show you that at the library, we have stamps that you can actually check out and do your stamping at home. This one, I pulled out Definitely Decorative Pines 1 because it has a moose image. So if you didn't have this moose punch, but you liked this card, you could check out Definitely Decorative Pines. And the moose is a little bit bigger than in our card, so you would just have to cut a bigger layer. If you haven't checked out the stamps from the library, let me take a second to show you how to find it. So we printed out here, when you're at the website, if you do a search, and here I searched Greetings Galore 2, which is this stamp set, but it's helpful if you don't know the name of the stamp that you're looking for. You can just do a library search and limit by 3D objects. You're going to get more than stamps under the 3D object, but all of the stamps will be listed under that heading. So once I did that search, I wanted to show you what it looks like. Greetings Galore 2, where I've limited by 3D objects, and here it's shown up as my result. But if you look here where it says web link, that would be a highlighted link that you could just click on, and that will show you a picture of what the stamps look like in that set. So you won't see it over here, but if you click on the web link, then you'll be able to see what the images look like for that stamp set. Okay, let's get back to our card. And what I'm gonna do is adhere the other pattern paper layer to the top. Then I'm not going to adhere this down right now, but I'm just going to place this right at the complete bottom of the base of the card so that I know how I want to position my moose. And you got to make sure you only put adhesive on the very top and the very bottom, because you don't want any adhesive in the middle, because that would your card wouldn't open then. It would be glued shut. Once I like that, then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive at the bottom. Make sure that bottom panel exactly matches the bottom of the inside of the card, and lay that down. Give that a second to dry. Now, in your kit, because of copyright issues, a lot of stamp companies prohibit having stamped images in kits. So what we did was we just printed out Season's Greetings for you to apply in the opening for your card. But if you wanted to check out a stamp set like Greetings Galore 2, remember using the 3D object limiting factor, then you could do your stamping on your own. And I want to show you two ways to do this. I have markers, and I had one that was a green color. If you have water-based markers, you don't want to use alcohol markers because it will stain your stamp. But if you have a water-based marker, you can use your marker directly on the stamp and then apply that to your card. And if you're saying, what's a water-based marker? Hopefully you can see. It says water-based dye ink. That's what you're looking for. So I'm just going to take the marker, and I'm only wanting ink on the greeting. I don't want to ink up that tree. Once I've done that, I'm just going to breathe on it because that activates the ink. The moisture in your breath activates the ink. And then you can't see me, but I am leaning down eye level with the table so that I know that that "'Tis the Season" is right in that opening. So if you didn't want to use what we provided, you can go ahead and check out the library stamps. Now I'm going to wash this off. I usually just use baby wipes. You want to make sure you have alcohol-free baby wipes when you clean your stamps, because I want to show you, if you don't have markers, it's okay because you can use an ink pad. So to make it easy for me, when I'm using an ink pad, I don't want to get any of that tree, I just use Post-it notes, and I'm covering up the tree part of the stamp. Okay, then I'm just taking my black ink pad and inking up, and I'm just going to throw away these Post-it notes, and I've already stamped my card, so let me just show you on the scrap. You can just stamp, and you've got your image that looks just as nice with an ink pad versus a marker. Now we have one more thing to do for this card, and that is I want to give this card a little bit more support, because right now it's only being held by the top and bottom of that mousse. So you should have a piece of acetate in your kit, and I'm just going to take just a tiny dot of adhesive and put it in the four corners. I'm going to lay my adhesive down and just bring the card to the acetate, not the adhesive. Give that a second, and now your card has more support. So when it's standing, I don't know if you can see that, but it has more support. So that is what the acetate's for. So that is our second card. Our last card are these pieces here. So what I want you to do is just fold your card base in half. And first thing is I want to put these two layers together on their own. I'm going to put the adhesive on the back of the ivy paper and line it up so that the edges are even and it has a pretty even border. Then I'm going to adhere that to the top of my card. Now, next, I am going to, I want to take this star that I have put a double-sided adhesive on before I die cut it to make it easier for you. And you're just going to pull the adhesive off. And the way that I did it was I kind of was curling the die cut as I was taking it off. Give me. When I did this, most of the little pieces came right off. And what you're left to do then is to pull any remaining inside bits off. I use my pokey tool, but if you don't have a pokey tool at home, you can just use a push pin. And you got to be careful because this is really sticky, so it's going to stick to the back. So in interest of saving a little bit of time, I had already done that and removed all the inside pieces. So now to what I found easiest for this to get a nice even border was I just gently tap down on the edges of each point. And then when I saw that that border looked pretty good, I just tapped down the rest. So now we're almost done. We're going to take these two twigs and going to use my liquid glue, and I'm going to place one here. I'm going to see if my star's there. Kind of pre-position how I'm going to want the other twig, so that when the star is glued down, it looks just the way you like it. I think I like it about like that. And put some adhesive on the back of your star. And we're almost done. So for the greeting, down in the lower right corner, you can just leave it as is, but I included two colored punches so that you could, if you choose, add a little colored border. So you could add one and have it look like that, or you could use both. And then we're just going to adhere that in the lower right corner, and you have completed all 3 of your holiday cards for the July camp. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to future card camps. Thanks so much.